The other thing I noticed in the debate was that Martin O'Malley, it seems like somebody, kind of wound up with a key on his back, He's when, he was on our show a couple of months ago, and we've invited him back and we've invited his people on, and none of them have chosen to bother with us, which is fine. I made the decision, 12 years ago, 13 years, whenever we started this show, a long time ago, 12 years ago, I think it is, that I was going to do a show that did not depend on politicians coming on my show. Now, virtually every television program would die if politicians wouldn't come on their show, so they have to suck up to them. And many of the right-wing radio shows, Rush Limbaugh is probably the exception to this, because he doesn't do guests, generally. But Sean Hannity is certainly a classic example of this. Most of the Republican ones, they would have a real serious problem if they didn't suck up to Republicans. But I decided a long time ago, I'm not going to suck up to Democrats. Back when the bankruptcy bill was being debated, we had a Democratic senator on. I don't want to name her. I don't want to embarrass her all over again. But she came on to defend, this was in 2005. She came on to defend Joe Biden's bankruptcy bill that was going to make it impossible for young people to discharge student loans. And I said, well, why do you want to do that? And she said, well, they need to learn responsibility when they're 18 years old. And I was like, no. And it so upset her that she has not come back on this program since 2005. That was 10 years ago. United States Senator. And I'm like, that's fine with me. It's just fine. I'm going to tell the truth. And so I just, anyway, I don't know. I don't remember how I got started on that. Martin O'Malley. That's right. It was Martin O'Malley. But now we don't have enough time to play the O'Malley clip, do we? We do? Okay. Here's Martin O'Malley going after Sanders and Clinton on guns.
Senator Sanders voted against the Brady bill. Senator Sanders voted to give immunity to gun dealers. And Senator Sanders voted against even research dollars to look into this public health issue. Secretary Clinton changes her position on this every election year, it seems, having one position in 2000 and then campaigning against President Obama and saying we don't need federal standards. Look, what we need on this issue is not more polls. We need more principle.
Martin, quit snorting, whatever it is you're snorting. You got time to play clip number 7? Okay, we'll do it on the other side of the break, because Bernie and Hillary had a response to Martin for this. And beyond that, I think Martin O'Malley is going the way of Lindsey Graham. By the way, Lindsey Graham is pulling out. In just a second, I'll tell you what that's going to mean. Hang on.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
Lindsey Graham is pulling out of the Republican primary, which means now that Republican senators are free to endorse somebody. Look for a whole slew of endorsements for Rubio coming up. Okay, so you heard, Martin O'Malley attacking... I'm telling you, he actually got booed once, I mean, he's like... he's toast. He's toast. I almost tweeted this out Saturday night. In fact, I intended to, and then something happened. I got distracted, and I forgot, and you know how that happens. But I was what I ultimately tweeted out was it's increasingly obvious to me that Bernie Sanders is this generation's FDR. If you want FDR as a president or as a Democratic candidate, then Bernie's your guy. Hillary Clinton is this generation's Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. If you liked the Clinton presidency and you liked the Obama presidency and you'd like to see basically a continuation of those two, vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama have been one hell of a lot less toxic than any of the Republicans. And they were actually reasonably good presidencies. So, but what I didn't add, I think what I did, I'm kind of personally new to Twitter. Most of our Twitter feed up to this point has been done by people on our staff, and it's mostly just promoting things coming up on our show. And I'm just now having fun getting into Twitter and doing it myself. And so I kept running up against that 144 character limit. So what I ended up saying was something like O'Malley equals younger Clinton, because he made that generational comment. That was the one that got him the boos. Said, well, for the perspective of a younger generation, right, Martin? Yeah, that's the line that Rubio's going to use. Just hold off. But anyhow, what I almost said was, and O'Malley is the Democratic candidate from Central Casting, because he just looks so. I mean, he's the guy. He's the Democratic candidate from Central Casting. I don't think he thinks he's running for the presidency or for the Democratic nomination. I think he's running for a piece in a new Netflix series. But anyhow, here was Bernie, and this is clip number 7. This is Bernie and Hillary responding to Martin O'Malley.
And it's because of the flip-flopping political approach of Washington that both of my two colleagues on this stage have represented there for the last 40 years. We need common sense.
Let's calm down a little bit, Martin.
Yeah, let's tell the truth, Martin.
There you go. I'm like, yeah, right. He is so toast. So anyhow, this is, and then Bernie proceeds to just kick Martin O'Malley's ass. Here it is.
So please do not explain to me, coming from a state where Democratic governors and Republican governors have supported virtually no gun control. Excuse me. Do not tell me that I have not shown courage in standing up to the gun people, in voting to ban assault weapons, voting for instant background checks, voting to end the gun show loophole, and now in a position to create a consensus in America on gun safety.
And that was, and I realize, I know Bernie well enough, and I don't mean like personally, but just, from his having been on this show for a decade every single Friday. I know Bernie well enough to know that very last part of what he said in his mind was the most important, where he said, and we're essentially on the verge of creating a consensus in America. What he's talking about is we're at this moment. Bernie understands movement politics. We're at this moment in American politics, where now this week, we're learning more people died last year in the United States from guns than from cars for the first time in the history of the country. Since widespread use of cars, and probably since they've been keeping statistics. There is a growing consensus that weapons of war should not be in the hands of civilians in the United States. It's absolutely growing. And rather than having Democrats picking on each other over this issue, we should all be working together to expand that consensus and that movement. And Jim and Shane, I don't know if you can, or Jim, I don't know if you can kind of go like halfway into that clip. You can't? You got to play it from the beginning? Okay. This would be clip numbers 8. Can you kind of just drop it in the middle of it and play it? Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter where it is. Drop it about halfway and let's just play it. I just want to play this for you.
I have not shown courage in standing up to the gun people, in voting to ban assault weapons, voting for instant background checks, voting to end the gun show loophole, and now in a position to create a consensus in America on gun safety.
He says, and now in a position to create a consensus in America on gun safety. I wanted to get his exact phrase. Thank you so much, Jim, for that. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. So anyhow, clip number 10, this is Hillary talking about gun control.
Only the three of us will do this. Nobody on the Republican side will even admit there's a problem. And in whatever way the three of us can, we need to move this agenda forward and begin to deal with the gun lobby and the intimidation that they present.
The thing, Bernie said it in a phrase because because he had very little time. We're on the verge of a moment when we can create a consensus around gun safety in the United States. Hillary explained it in plain English, which she's gotten really good at in the last 7 years. She is such a better campaigner and debater now than she was 7 years ago. And if she is the nominee, first of all, if Bernie is the nominee, there's no doubt in my mind he will take apart any Republican. He will take them apart and spread them all over the stage in ways that will cause Republicans and independents to vote for him. Because I've seen that done in Vermont. Louise and I lived in Vermont for 10 years. Was it that long? Maybe it was 5 years. Whatever it was. Anyway, we lived in Northfield for a while and in Montpelier for a while. And I however long it was, I'd have to go back through my biography. But I've seen Bernie campaign, and Bernie gets the Republican voters. People who don't agree with him on his policies vote for him in Vermont because they want an honest politician. They know he's going to vote to raise taxes on rich people, and they've listened to Sean Hannity, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, talk about how raising taxes on rich people is a terrible thing to do because it'll harm the economy. They believe that to be true. They know that Bernie is on the other side of the issue, but they vote for Bernie anyway because they know exactly where he stands. And they know that the Republican candidates will say anything to get elected. And then you have no control over how they're going to vote because they're going to vote based on who's paying them the most. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.